Welcome to Inside the Sherman Playhouse. I'm Catherine Almquist. I'm the director of our next production, Dividing the Estate by Horton Foote. And I have with me tonight Julian Thomas. Julian plays Doug. As you can see, Julian is a young man and Doug is 92, 93 years old. Julian, what attracted you to this role?
Well, it's
apart from the fact that I courted you for a year.
Yeah, and it's a great script. It really is. It's an interesting play. First of all, I thought it would be great to get to do a role that was originated by Arthur French.
Yes.
That's an actor that I've definitely always followed for a long time. And also, it's a good character to dive into. I do like doing characters where you can sort of immerse yourself into the person. And a role like this, it definitely takes a lot of concentration. It's a lot more physical than I guess I thought.
It's a lot more physical. Yeah, it's hard being old.
It is. It's hard work being old.
And one thing I'll tell you that attracted me to the show is it's such a true ensemble piece. Horton Foote really writes for actors. He doesn't write star vehicles. And as I've told you many times, this is the only Broadway show I've ever seen. I sat through it, I went out immediately, and I got another ticket. Wow. Tell our audience a little bit what it's about and why it is so universal.
Well, I think the theme really captures a lot of what hits a lot of families in different walks of life. They have this big estate, they have a house and a certain number of acres of land that they're talking about dividing it amongst the different family members, and also the whole aspect of what happens after a family member dies.
Yes, that's what I love. And when a little bit of money is involved, and I've always said, you know, a wedding is a great start to tearing apart a family. Funeral is an even better start, but once you get the will and once you get that involved, then you see the real personalities of people. Wouldn't you say so?
Oh, absolutely. And it's something that all families can relate to as well. Anybody that's gone through a family funeral.
Yes, and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter the amount. The thing is there is money, and he left it to her, she left it to him, and why? Yeah, no, that I think is very, very interesting. But to get back to you a little bit, okay, you're a young guy, you're an actor living in New York. Let's back up a bit. Where were you born? Let's start with the basics.
Well, I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's sort of a suburban kind of city, a little under 1 million population. And so living in New York is definitely a lot different.
I would say so.
It is. I've got family from New York, and my grandparents are from the city. So
you grew up coming to New York City.
Right,
you visited.
Right. I would visit during the summers, and it was funny because coming up here to the East Coast, I was sort of the Okie in the family. They'd make fun of me for my accent and whatnot, and then I'd go back home and they would call me the Easterner or whatnot. Like, they would say that my accent was all East Coast, so it was sort of going back and forth in between.
Did you ever make any conscious effort to lose an accent?
I don't know if I made a conscious effort. I'll definitely try to underplay my southern drawl when I come back to the East Coast, but my family members kind of tease me about it. And my friends say they can tell anytime I've been back home for a while. So I guess I've got a little bit of a southern gentleman in me.
Yes. Oh, I would say that from knowing you. All right. So you were born in Tulsa. Where was college?
Went to school in Chicago at Northwestern University.
Very impressive.
And
Very
thank you. Got to do the theater program.
Fabulous
up there.
theater program.
And yes, it was a great time. I've got nothing but good things to say about Chicago, about the campus. Northwestern was a lot of fun.
I have a question. I hear from actors sometimes, I am a classically trained actor. Would you consider yourself a classically trained actor? And this is a two-part question. What is a classically trained actor?
I would consider myself classically trained. It's I would call it the background in classical theater.
Okay.
When we had the program at Northwestern, they walked us through all the different sort of time periods. So we did Greek tragedy, we did Shakespeare, we did, on up to Ibsen and Chekhov.
Any particular parts there that you played that you loved?
Oh wow, worked on a lot of good plays in undergrad. I did Streetcar Named Desire.
Who were you in Streetcar?
Stan Lee.
Ah,
I brought that into class one time, and that was a good example of the teacher wanted us to sort of rev up more chemistry between myself and the young lady. And so
what did you do to rev up the chemistry?
We did have to practice it. We did have to practice just sort of hanging out together some, being in different environments. And
so you actually worked at it. You did not come on stage and say, okay, now I'm going to...
No, it's one of those things that, you have to actually get out on your feet and get out with the person, get into some different environments and sort of play around with each other.
Okay, and you have said that you do not consider yourself a method actor. So what do you do to prepare for a role? To prepare for Doug, what do you do?
Sure. I do a lot of people watching in general, and New York City is definitely a good city for that. Everywhere you go, you're outside in the parks or on the subway. There's always people around to be looking at. I don't knock method acting. It's not particularly my thing where, I won't get into a character for days on end and, practice how to wake up in the middle of the night as that character or whatnot. What I talk about is more of a day-to-day, training yourself on the day-to-day schedule of how to live like an actor, of how to go about your everyday with the way that you watch people or being an active observer for things that are going on. And you look for those little moments that stick out. People interact on a daily basis and, they run through their daily lives and then they have just one little 2 minutes of interaction where something authentic comes out or something unexpected pops out into the conversation. It's those little moments that I like to really look for. See how they can translate to the stage. We
were talking earlier about acting, and one thing that I admire about you is your dedication. You take a 2-hour train ride in, you take a 2-hour train ride back, and get back around midnight or so. Do you think there is a difference? Well, of course there's a difference. Let's talk about this between being a professional actor and that dedication and what you see in New York, professional actors, and the acting, the dedication that you see in community or regional theater.
Well, first of all, I was impressed with the Sherman Playhouse right away. The level of acting here is very high, and you can tell that the audiences expect a seasoned performance.
Well, just let me interrupt 1 minute. I saw Julian in Of Mice and Men a year ago as Crooks, and his performance just knocked me out, to use that hackneyed expression, as it did anyone who saw it. And when I was first thinking of dividing the estate, you were the first one I thought of. Now that I've interrupted you and caused you to lose your train of thought, go on.
No, not at all.
We were talking about professional acting and regional.
Sure. Well, just, to sort of bring up the point that I do know a lot of actors in New York that maybe would look down on doing a regional theater like this, but the way that I see it, you get more experience with being on stage.
I couldn't
being
agree
around
more.
The other actors. I mean, you can go to an acting class, and a lot of them are great networking tools and all of that, but it's not the same.
It's not the same as being in front of an audience and getting immediate feedback.
You get the feedback from the crowd, you get the whole community feeling from the other actors that are there. There's just something about the whole process of everyone's going through it together. We're all in the trenches. No show is perfect when you do the first run. It's just the arc of the process.
Do you think there will ever be a time for you that you'll say, okay, I've had it with the theater? Do you think there should be a time in an actor's life that you say, I've had it with the theater? What are your expectations? I'm curious, and I just threw a lot out there.
Well, people say that the theater is where you learn how to act. Movies are where you get famous, and television is where you get rich. But there's nothing like live theater. I think it's the best training that an actor can go out and have. And, you know, for me personally, I mean, I enjoy acting. I grew up acting since I was in middle school.
Did you want to be an actor growing up? Did you put on plays in your parents' garage?
Not in the garage, but in school.
Okay.
I definitely thought about it. I guess I didn't really take it seriously until college. I started thinking about making a career out of it. But even at a young age, it was just always really fun for me. The first musical I did, I was the Ghost of Christmas Present in A Christmas Carol, and I was just the tiny little guy with the big wreath on my head.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had a song to memorize and everything. I was hooked from then on. You know, the process of creating a character that is realistic enough that someone can actually watch it live and say, okay, I can lose myself in this moment.
Which you do. You did it certainly with Crooks, and you're doing it with Doug. All right. There's acting, and then there's the business of acting. What's the business of acting like? And does it sour people? Of course it sours people.
Yeah, it can get to you after a while. The business of acting is really networking and making those relationships that are going to last.
So it's two sides. It's being an actor and then being a salesman in a way.
Yeah. It is a lot of sales involved in it. You can definitely say it like that. You're selling yourself, but you're also selling the fact that you want this director or this producer to want to have you around the rest of their castmates. Especially with theater, you spend so much time together with the group. Everybody looks for people that are people persons. Everybody looks for people that, you know, can kind of help keep the motivation up, that can help keep people's spirits up. Nobody wants to hire an actor that's going to be all gloomy and in their own head all the time.
So how do you like, that's a good point. Yes, being an artiste gets old quickly.
Right.
What's the cast like of Dividing the Estate?
Oh, this cast is a lot of fun.
This is self-serving since I'm directing it.
Sure. we have a wide range of ages with this cast. I think that's really neat. Some
Have you worked with anyone before?
Yes, actually. Jim Hipp.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that he was able to do this show.
Yes.
He was the lead in Mice and Men, and we had a good time on that show. I'm actually really glad that he's around.
All right, Julian. You have been such a trooper coming out. If I said, what's your dream role? I'll direct it. What would it be? And please don't say Othello.
Yeah.
I'm not up for that yet. What?
Oh, goodness. There's so many good plays out there. Any of the August Wilson plays I've always wanted to work on. And I'm also a big fan of Athal Fugard.
All right. Yes.
He's the South African playwright that all of his plays are very poignant for the times. Yeah, I mean, so many good scripts to work on. It's
well,
tough.
I will pay you what I consider the ultimate compliment is that you are a true actor's actor.
Oh, thank you.
No, it's true. And on that note, I will say we open September 19th. We run for 4 weekends. Come and see the show. You will love this man's performance. It's an award-winning play. Horton Foote just parts the curtains and lets you see real life. So, Julian, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I look forward to working with you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.